Hey everybody, we are live, and I'm not sure what happened to our rolling scene. We got our usual life and homes rolling, but that didn't happen today. So it's all good. Hey, welcome to the Life and Homes podcast. I'm your host, Mike Bova, Country Mike, and it's my musician stage name, my country music artist name. With us is David Lisi, founder of Life and Homes, and a very special guest, our friend. We're proud to have him on, Alex Carbone. Alex, how are you?
Great, guys. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so let's dive right into it. We're going to focus on commercial, like investing and stuff, because typically we do residential and whatnot, but today's like a very special show. So, but let's have people get to know you a little bit. Take us from your humble beginnings in the Carbone Auto Group. I believe you started like washing cars or something like that, which is like, I think a lot of times when people go into the family business, right? They it's like you're going to start at the bottom and you're going to work your way to the top. But tell us about your journey with the Carbone Auto Group and how you actually became the face of the Carbone Auto Group.
First I'd like to say that I'm blessed for even having that opportunity to be involved in the Carbone Auto Group. Being at Carbone, a lot of people would associate me with being, somebody that started at the top, and that couldn't be any further than the truth. When I was 15 years old, my father put me to work. Actually, he did more in an earlier age at home. However, in my career, he got me started in the car business when I was 15. And, even too young to drive, I used to have to get rides to work from my mother or my sisters or whatnot. But my first job in the Carbone Auto Group, I was 15 years old, and it was scraping the building. It was the original Carbone Honda building on Commercial Drive, and they gave me.
Okay.
I remember going my first day, and the general manager, Jimmy Vanny, I've got great respect for it. He passed away, God rest his soul. But he gave me a 10-foot ladder, and he gave me a putty knife about 6 inches wide. And he said, your job this summer is to scrape the building so we could paint it in the fall. I mean, we're talking about a 20,000 square foot building. Wasn't huge at the time, the building, compared to the other dealerships, but there was enough work. So every day I would come in and I would just, scrape the building up on the ladder, move it another foot, scrape that area, move it. And that took me all summer long that year. And I met a lot of great people, a lot of great salesmen. I started to get involved in really the entry level of a car business and what it takes. And, the car business isn't about, our core business there is, sales, service, and parts and body shop. However, there's so much more that goes into a business that at a young age, I didn't understand. So I was learning really from the ground.
Sure.
At 16 years old, every summer I started to work. 16 years old, I was washing cars. I was considered to be a lot attendant, which you're responsible for. When the cars come off the truck, you clean them, you stock them in, you get them ready to put on the lot. You clean the cars when they're sold, get them ready for the customers to pick up, sweeping the lot. Your job was to maintain the image of the dealership from the road. They call that curb appeal.
Sure.
And, it was so detailed back then. I don't think now they really pay as much attention, to be honest with you. But back then I was trained by, again, Jimmy Vanny, who was a former Marine, and the guy was just meticulous at the way his life looked. The car line had to be as if you took a chalk string and snapped it. Every bumper was on point. It was absolutely lined up. And if there was a hole in the front line, he would bring you out there and he would show to you and say to you, this is the most expensive piece of real estate in Oneida County. And it looks like one row is missing teeth.
Right.
I mean, that's how he taught me that way. 17 years old, I went to Carbone Pontiac, and I worked with a gentleman, Stanley Bogdan, and I really learned how to detail a car and recondition a car. When you take a trade-in, what it takes to get a used car ready to be put on the lot, buffing, painting the engine, degreasing it, really reconditioning to make it as close to new as possible, even though it's a used car. 18 years old, I delivered parts. 19, I was in the service department for 2 years. I started my journey into sales at 21. At 22, I was a used car manager, and I grew from there. And by the age of 29, I was a general manager of Carbone Honda. I had attended NADA school, which is National Automobile Dealers Association Academy. And that is a 1-year course. Every 45 days, you go to Virginia, Tyson's Corner, Virginia, and that's where their headquarters were. And you are certified by the end of that course to have learned the front to the back of how to run a dealership. So I've already had hands-on in each department. I learned from the ground up. And, my first real accomplishment as far as, in the leadership role was when I was 29, I took on the general manager's job. I didn't understand really the accountability that everybody has to have in a dealership. And I was the manager of the hottest franchise on the road, which was Honda. I ended up losing money that year for the group. I lost $200,000 a year. And I'm in charge of the hottest franchise, but my mindset was wrong. My mindset was, being everybody's friend and talking to everybody and this instead of holding everybody accountable. So that next year, something clicked, and it was, just a complete turnaround of my mindset. And I sat with the management crew from parts department to service department, sales, and all areas of sales. And I said, listen, guys, we're going to be responsible for a forecast this year. Everybody's going to meet their forecast every single month. And we're going to meet twice a week on your forecast, track the progress. And you guys have 30 days at a time to be employed here. So I really, I gave them the opportunity, gave them a fair shot, and I was very clear with what I expected. We made a lot of changes. We eliminated a huge amount of overhead that was not producing income. I installed some programs that did produce income. There was a lot of things that took place. So long story short, that next year we net profited $1.2 million. So it was $1.4 million swing in a year. Wow. So we won awards from the factory. So I started to climb. I felt good. My schooling, awful. So I felt really kind of beneath everybody from the beginning because I was not good in school, and it was a struggle for me. And if they had the capabilities to test me like they do now, I'm sure they'd find some type of learning problem with me. Well, once I started to gravitate into the car business, it was just so, I had the chills every day. I loved it. I lived it. I breathed it. And that was number one for me. So moving on, I started to, be more involved in the management of the entire group. I took another store to run. So I had 2 stores underneath me, then 3, then 4, then 5. And we were a 14 dealership conglomerate at one point. And, I worked with a lady named Ann Inman who started me off with TV commercials. And she felt that my presence on TV is what's going to set this group apart from all the other car dealerships in the area. Because if you remember this was back, what am I, 52 now, so it had to have been 25 years ago, maybe 26, 27 years old. But in the early 2000s, right? So late 1990s. But nobody was really, TV was still the dominant, newspaper, radio, billboards, which billboards is still great. But the presence of the auto dealerships locally didn't have the ownership presence. outside of here they did. That's when Fusillo started to grow, and you
Right.
know, dealers in Syracuse started to show their presence in Utica. So she grabbed me. Long story short, I was awful, totally awful. So she always caught me at a time where I wasn't feeling good. So I would be on TV, and I was very nervous, and you could tell. But that's where I kind of got my start with her.
Sure.
I know Ann. She's awesome.
Yeah, she's doing good?
Well, I haven't seen her in years, but I
Right.
used to call on her on a couple of different things that she was doing. And her and I have a wonderful business relationship for many years.
Yeah, great lady. She got me started.
Yeah.
So as time went on, I know one of our dealerships in our group called Don's Ford. The name was Don's Ford. Used to use a man named Woody Woodard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that.
Remember Woody? Yeah. So he was a great guy. And I started to work with Woody. As I was working with Woody, I was building an in-house advertising agency.
Okay.
And, you know, pulled some people from different media sources in the area.
Mm-hmm.
And we assembled that. And I started to work with Woody. Now, my first job with Woody was to open the commercial and close the commercial, kind of like it. And then he would fill in the blank. And I watched him and I learned from him. So my only job was, you know, the month of July at Carbone Hyundai, we've got some great deals. And here's Woody, right? Yeah. And then he would go into all this. It was so basic. It was like he would just explain the car and then come out with this, you know, price point. Right. You know, like this month we're featuring a 2005 Honda Civic, all the power equipment, you know, car and driver car of the year, all this for just $199 a month. And I could do it today, you know, and you got to do it with a little sincerity. So I watched him. And, you know, I said to my in-house team, I said, you know, I could really do this. And we could start to brand the whole group under my umbrella.
Right.
All right. And, you know, I had other partners involved in the business, but they really weren't interested in being on that TV. I had kind of some kind of a talent in me that I could connect with somebody over TV, radio, billboard, the buses. I can connect with you just by either looking at me or hearing me or watching me in 30 seconds, 30 to 60 seconds. I can connect. And it was a branding message mostly, you know, we know in media, it's more like when you're ready to buy a car, your name comes to mind. However, you have to keep those deals out there and so on and so forth. So I started my TV career, and I loved it. I branched out to Albany. I branched out to Bennington, Vermont, where we started to grow. You know, but in that type of arena, in the market, you're working 24/7.
Sure.
You know, I made a lot of mistakes where I had an image to uphold. I did the best I could, but however, I was still a young man, and people are on you. They watch you. They let you know. It was just something you had to pay attention to. Wherever you went, I always wore a suit and tie. I never dressed down. Never wore a baseball hat. Nothing. I was always on. My image was always first. You know, it was a lot of work. So.
You're basically you're a fish in a fishbowl, Alex. You know, people are just you're out there. You're the social butterfly. People are watching every move you make, and you know what? I always talked about this too, because you know Dave and I are also in the advertising business. It's like, you know, branding is advertising is everything. Marketing is everything. So it's how you dress, it's how you walk, it's how you present yourself. I mean, people are watching you. 24/7, you know, so that's a great mindset, man.
Yeah, I know. So
yeah, you're a young guy. So I know you guys had a bunch of dealerships too, because I used to, you know, I worked for the Penny Saver that was part of the Utica OD, and I used to actually, you guys were one of my customers with the Penny Saver. I used to go in and talk to you know, your Barb Mazzata, you know.
She came from the OD.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, so we had some people come from the OD, and it was a good in for me. You know, it was a good in, and so I appreciate the business that Carbone brought me. But I know you guys had dealerships in other places, which was great. So how did that branching out come about? I mean, you're here, like I used to drive down when I moved from Watertown. I would drive down Commercial Drive, and it's all Carbone, which is very cool, because I came from Watertown area, and you drive down Adams and all that, and all the dealerships on the main drag. But how did you guys do? Like, how did you branch out into like the Albany and Bennington area? You know what I mean?
Well, I'll start early on. All right. First of all, it's probably a good time. I wrote a book, and it'll tell you everything that we're talking about today. It's called The Story of Alex Carbone and What It Takes to Live It. So if anybody wants the book, you're going to give out my phone number. And I have free, these are free. I want to give them out. I'm in the process of writing another book, but this tells history. This tells the history of my early ancestors all the way through the car legacy. So to answer your question, my grandfather started the Carbone Auto Group back in 1929. It's a great story. I have all the respect in the world for that man. He died early on in my life. He died when I was 18. I wish I had a chance to really grow up in business with him and learn from him. He taught me a lot about my life lessons and taught me how to work. He really taught me. He taught me the ethic that I have today. And, by working in his garden, mowing his grass, and he was very, very detail oriented, which I am now. And he would make me cut the grass over if I didn't do it right. Or he'd get me on a 10-foot ladder in the garden I was 12 years old with a 12-pound sledge on the very last step, and he's just holding it at 80 years old. Just like, keep going, keep going. Ladders going back and forth. I've got so many stories, but he taught me everything. But he started the group back in 1929, and he started it, from nothing. He had $40.
Wow.
Started with $40 in a dream. That was our story. $40 in a dream during the Depression. So, and his story is in my book too. As an orphan, he grew up as an orphan, and just it's just a tremendous story. Anyways, moving forward, he started on Bleecker Street. There was an apartment upstairs, Bleecker Street and Bacon Street, and my father grew up upstairs. My father and uncle, and my grandfather and grandmother ran the business. My grandfather ran the operations. My grandmother ran the accounting books. And they go upstairs and they go to bed and they get up, they walk downstairs and go back to work. There was really, TV and radio and all that. It didn't even exist back then, but what it was grassroots prospecting. You go through the phone book, you make phone calls. He used to drive around and talk to people. He was just really grassroots stuff that made him who he is. But he had a special vision. He had a special vision, and his vision was to be on Commercial Drive. And back then it was farm country. Nobody was there, and everything was in downtown Utica, if you remember. And I think the population was double of what it is today. So all the retailers, all the car dealers, all the this, everything was downtown. So they used to tell my grandfather he was crazy for moving out of Utica and into the suburb area in farm country. But he did it. He had a vision, and he was right. I mean, you look at Commercial Drive. His first dealership was the Dodge Chrysler dealership on Commercial Drive. Then they built GM dealership. My uncle built a dealership in North Utica, so he had a similar vision. So if you look at Commercial Drive now, what is it? It's all car dealerships. It's Consumer Square. It's the mall. It's the busiest road in Oneida County. So I don't know. He took a shot, and this is what it turned out to be. So, moving forward, we started to grow. My dad and my uncle got involved, and they started to expand and, buy local dealerships. And the opportunity to be out of town, they went to Syracuse, my dad and my uncle, in the 70s. And it was just, for them, it was too much. They had a lot going in Utica. Their presence was huge in Utica. They were on a lot of community boards. So they sold the Syracuse dealership and really focused in on our local market and started to buy other dealerships that really were available. Where we started to expand out of town was when us the third generation came in. And, you know, my dad and uncle had such a root into this community. They figured we would try outside this community to see how we would do with those things. Okay. So we went to Bennington, Vermont, and we bought a Honda Toyota dealership. And we expanded that. We did quite well. My cousin Joe spent a lot of time up there. He was the initial point man of the group to go start those dealerships. And as time went on, and I gravitated more into the executive sales role in the auto group, I started to cover that territory. So he went on to more of the acquisitions and mergers role. So he started to take on more of my uncle's role with buying dealerships and building the buildings. I was doing more of the sales role. My cousin Anessa was doing the administrative role. And we had another guy, Tom Warren, who was doing the fixed operations, which was parts and service. So we had a team of management, and we would all travel and go do our thing in the dealerships. So we did Bennington, Vermont, and then we had a chance to buy a Subaru dealership in Troy, New York, and then a Harley dealership in Amsterdam. So we started to really expand out into other areas, and it was a great learning experience. Very stressful on home life, you know, because I spent most of my weeks for 3 or 4 years outside of the house and living in hotels. And so I've got a lot of experience with that, but that's okay. Hey, we did what we needed to do, and we were very successful. Right. So that's how we expanded.
For sure. Shout out to Joe and Anessa, by the way, great people. I did a event over with Celebrate America over at the Harley Davidson dealership. So Joe was over there, but I had some dealings with Anessa. Anessa is so nice, and Donnie as well. So just Carbones are a great family.
Thank you.
So you guys built up this huge conglomerate, and then when did you know that it was time to get out of the business? When what was the mindset there, and how did that all take place?
Well, look, we were in a situation where we're a family business, and we worked together, we interacted together, we went to dinners together, but inside of a family business, there's always those elements of a little bit of animosity between us. So we did a lot of work with a coach that we hired from San Francisco, come and help us build a team, put everybody in the right place in the organization where their strengths are. He took us, to certain levels, and it was great. It worked out great. The manufacturers played another role in this also, is that the requirements for the specifics of their individual presence was very, very, what do I want to say? It was very financially stressful. We were hugely successful. Okay. Our annual sales was, we were in the top 500 auto groups top 100 auto groups in the nation. We were considered a mega group right here in Utica, New York, and in Bennington, Vermont, and also in Albany. But the requirements that we had to spend to keep the factory happy. Did I lose you?
Yeah, keep it going. He must have.
He left us. Anyway,
yeah, he left us. But I will come back in. Go ahead.
The requirements of the factories was astronomical, and we kept going and going, and we had the means to do it.
Yeah. So when did you get ready to make the move to sell?
So what's happening with the industry and the auto group is that these public companies have endless resources financially, all right? And they started out west mainly, and they're coming more east. So, through conversations with the board of directors and through conversations as a family, and somebody had to take the role of, kind of spearheading that direction to market the company. And Anessa did that with my uncle, Don Carbone. And, they worked with a broker out of California. And we had about 5 different public outfits that were interested in us. We interviewed them all. They made offers, this and that. We found the best offer and partner was to be with Lithia, and they're out of Medford, Oregon. And we decided to say, hey, we've had a great legacy. At the time, my cousins were in their 50s. I was in my 40s, and it was a tough conversation to have. I gotta be honest with you. It was not a unanimous decision, but it was very weighed heavily towards selling the company. And, if we didn't, who knows what would have happened? We had a beautiful offer in front of us. We had an opportunity to be a family and love each other and be, interact with each other in a great way for the rest of our lives. And we chose that. We said to ourselves, family is our most important thing. And who knows? The auto group is a cycle, just like every business. And we were at an up cycle when we got this offer. It cycles every 10 years. So we're then on a down for 10 years. And who knows how tight the constraints would be in 10 years. There was so many of these conversations with our accountants, with our attorneys, with the owner group, with the board of directors. So it was a tough decision. But, at the end of the day, we made the right decision. And it moved me past what I knew and forced me to learn other things or apply other things that I learned during the course of my career in the auto group.
Right,
Mike.
So at what point did you, so now that phase of your life is, we have seasons of our life, right? So that season is done. And so now, where did you get the idea of purchasing the fitness mill? I'm sure you worked out as part of your regimen or something like that, right? And so you're like, I'm just going to buy a gym. What was the mindset?
So that's a great story. It's fitness mill when I was growing up in the mid 90s. Al Calogero was the founder of the fitness mill, and he opened the gym in 1993 at the warehouse buildings in New York Mills. And what I remember of the fitness mill was it was the premier fitness facility in this area. There was a few other gyms. There was a Powerhouse. There was Solid Gold. There was, the one on the corner of Bleecker Street. Forget the names of the gyms, but All American Fitness Center in New Hartford, but which Al was a part of, and then he branched off to do the fitness mill. So as I'm growing up, I remember that this place was everything, and I never trained there until I was 30. So then I started training at the fitness mill. Got to know Al, great guy. Taught me a lot about group fitness classes. That's really his. He loves strength and conditioning. He did his powerlifting in his day, but strength and conditioning was his focus at the fitness mill. So he had all the area high schools and trained them all in all the sports athletes and everything in strength and conditioning. But as time went on, as busy as the gym was, it took a lot of upkeep to keep the equipment in good condition. And at that point, when the equipment started to become an issue, all these other franchise gyms started to pop up. There was Retro Fitness, there was Powerhouse, there was Planet Fitness showed up, and everybody started to leave poor Al. So I felt terrible. I stayed there. A lot of good people stayed there, but a lot of people also left. I, for some reason, took that personally because I'm a local guy. I support local business. Took it personally. And Al and I had a series of conversations, and this was in 2017, right around the time we sold the auto group. So, I had the means to branch off. I had the time to branch off. We put a deal together. It was very easy. We agreed on a number. This included this, that, and the third. And then we met with an attorney, signed the paperwork, and I owned the fitness mill. So I kept it in the existing building for 4 years. 4 years, 2017 to 2021. After about the second year I was there, the mayor of Utica approached me, Rob Palmieri, and he wanted me to move the gym into Utica, because if you thought about it, at the time there really wasn't a gym presence in the city limits of Utica.
Sure.
There was City Gym, that's up on Oneida Square area, Franklin Square. Is that Franklin or Oneida? Oneida Square.
Yeah, it's a square.
So he was up there, and I think that was the only one. Planet Fitness is now in North Utica, but before then it wasn't there. So we talked about it, and he showed we drove from South Utica, North Utica, East Utica, ended up in West Utica, and I fell in love with the site that he showed me. The last site he looked at, I fell in love with, and I had a vision, like my grandfather, right? I had a vision. And he told me all about what the city's plans were with the Western Corridor. Riscony Boulevard is certainly an extension of Commercial Drive, so I'm familiar with the area. I felt at home. So I went into the acquisition with the city and bought this 4.3 acre parcel, which was a warehouse at the time. They agreed that if I bought it, they would tear down the warehouse, and I could build a facility for the gym, which was awesome. What a great vision I had. So we started working with it, and I started with a 25,000 square foot building to just house the gym, which would have been a comparable size of the gym I had in New York Mills. So alongside of that, I put an 800 square foot, little health food counter, this and that. So I approached some local businesses to come along. And once the word got out of what I was doing, like, all these other local businesses kept asking me, hey, you got any room in that building for me? You got any room in that building for me? I must have went through 20 drawings. I spent a ton of money in architectural fees. And it went from a 25,000 square foot building up to a 48,000 square foot building.
Wow.
And we now house 12 great businesses, including the fitness mill. I put a billboard on the property, which I'm now expanding into the billboard business. So these little conversations that happened with the mayor sparked the vision. I applied the vision. It grew into something more. I added something more, which now I'm expanding into that. So it's, it was really a blessing that I was able to have this opportunity and to, be a part of Utica, which we consider this downtown. I named the building LiveIt Downtown because that's my tagline, LiveIt. Yep. And, just a great opportunity to expand into commercial property. Now, you really invited me on the show to talk about commercial property. I'm really a rookie at this. I want to be that mogul. But what happened was I really, I went with my gut. I don't have a college education. I have School of Hard Knocks inside of me. And I went with my gut. I went with my vision, and it expanded into this beautiful building, which now I'm expanding into a whole nother business on top of this building that I'm very excited about. And, so this is where I got my start in commercial property. So that's.
Hey, Alex, got a quick question. What's the advertising business with the billboard? Just tell me a little bit about that.
This is so exciting. My partner's sitting here right now, Diana, and she's my fiance. So, we see you guys in church every week. So we sat down and her and I spoke. We have a building. We run a building. Okay. That's pretty much it. Okay. Commercial property is you fill the space, you got the tenants, you put them on a long-term lease, and you call it a day. Just make sure the grass is mowed, the lot's plowed, and you pick up the garbage around the building and pay the bills. Okay. Very exciting, right? Compared to what I'm used to, which is a great building, but I needed to fill my time. So I'm a salesman at heart, right?
Yep.
So Diane and I were talking, and we said, you know what? Let's expand the billboard business, because we started to fill the billboard and ourselves, and we're still doing it ourselves. Sure. I'm finding myself back in the community, talking to all the businesses that I used to sell cars to and that I know through the community. And we said, you know what, let's go into the billboard business. So I feel great about this, and I'm excited about it. So we identified 2 other locations locally, which I will disclose another time because I'm in the middle of getting my permits and approvals. So I don't really want to say where they are. I'll disclose it on my social media. But we're rebranding our company, and we named it Faith Outdoor. And Faith Outdoor, our tagline is advertise with faith. It's beautiful. It just flows. It's beautiful. It's non-confrontational. It's not an ego name. It's not we're going to crush you. We're going to crush the market.
Yeah.
Used to with marketing. It's just a nice, smooth name, nice, smooth transition. Faith Outdoor Marketing. So that's where we're at. Faith Outdoor Advertising. So
that's mostly billboard. That's only billboards, or is there
digital billboard?
Okay.
Digital billboards. Yeah, they're. I'm having fun with it. Diana's having fun. We're learning it as we go. We love our customers that are on the board right now. We stay in close contact with them. We're keeping them up to date on the new locations that we have coming forth. And, we're just very excited to be back in kind of the sales industry, but it's in a different way now. I used to be in sales to help people buy a car. As much as people didn't understand that. Consumers understand when you go in a showroom, they're like, oh, here we go, a salesman. No, my job is to help you buy the car. I'm not here to, sell you a car.
Right.
Help you. You're
exactly.
Here to right. So now we enter businesses to help them build their business, help them advertise, get different locations that make good sense to us, that would be great exposure for businesses, and then show them what we're doing, help them see the value of what they're doing. We're not in it for the day-to-day sell you an ad and walk away. We want to see results for you, and we want to see that work for you. We want to see your money work. So we've done a lot of good things with this company. We standardized the amount of businesses we allow to be on the board. So we're not going to flood the board with as many as we can get. For us, it's not just about income. We standardized it. We set a threshold for our income. That is what it is per board. Done. On to the next board. Yeah. So it's 10 businesses per side. We won't go over that. We standardize our rates. And, we have a nonprofit rate. We have an advertising agency rate. And we have a general business rate. And we're very competitive and really lower than the competition. So we're proud of it. We're proud of what we're going through the process currently.
Yeah.
It's fun. Stressful. But fun.
Good. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. You should be proud of that. I mean, it's nice when you have a formula, right, that works.
You cut out, Dave.
You cut out? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Alex, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
And you and your team have done a phenomenal job of putting this all together. What are your final thoughts? You have a book. Why don't you pitch that book one more time?
Okay.
The audience.
My book is free to anybody that calls me. I'll gladly sign a copy and give you a copy. It's called The Story of Alex Carbone and What It Takes to Live It. And it starts right from the beginning it's the first chapter is called The Birth and Growth of an Empire and Dynasty. And the last chapter is called Building the Building and Branding LiveIt Downtown. So it takes you right from 1914, when my great-grandfather was killed in a bar, and how my grandfather grew up because of that, into his start into business, into my father and uncle, into the third generation in the auto business. And then I break off and I talk about what I'm doing currently after the car business, and some of the awards that I've won. I'm proud of one award that I just want to share. I'm the 2022 Businessman of the Year from the Utica Chamber of Commerce.
Congratulations.
That's a huge honor. I just want to say it on the air, not to pat myself on the back, but it's a huge honor. Remember, my uncle won it, and so many other people that I admire won that same award. So it's in the book. I also have some things in my book that I'm going to expand on in my new book, and that's my road to sobriety. I'm sober. Yeah. I have an extensive alcoholism background, which is very important to share. The first time I got drunk, well, I was 9 years old. And from then on, alcohol just grew and grew and grew inside of me and escalated into a real problem into my mid 40s. By the time I was 48, I'm 52 now, but by the time I was 48, I made a real effort to try to quit. But there's so many details involved in trying to quit alcohol that until you find Jesus or Jesus finds you guys, and I know you'll relate to this, for me, not every alcoholic in this world, but for me, Jesus saved my life. I want to share that real quick. I was in my rehab, my first and only time in rehab. I never thought I would get to a rehab facility. Being who I am and my background, I always thought that was, not something that I ever needed in my life. But sure enough, I needed it. And when I got to rehab, I knelt at my bed and I prayed to Jesus as my last resort. And I was Catholic my whole life. I did not follow Christianity until this point. And when I knelt in my bed and I prayed to Jesus, Jesus appeared. And he came over to me with his left hand over his chest and his right hand, and he set it right on my shoulder. And he healed me from the demons. And I'll tell you, I have not understood that until I started to learn Christianity. And I read the Bible every day. I'm faithful to church. We pray every night. And I watch, numerous shows and sermons. And he did to me what is in the Bible. He healed me from a demon, and it blows me away. So I'm forever grateful to Jesus. He's now my Lord and Savior. I've given my life to him. I'm rebaptized. I am a born again Christian, proud of it. And I will tell you that, everybody in alcoholism has a higher power. Mine is Jesus, and I love him, and he is my hero. He's my king.
Alex, what a great story. What an awesome story.
Thank you.
It is.
I can go on and on that one.
Awesome.
Mike, why don't you close this thing out?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike. Did we lose Mike again?
I think we froze. We see with a smile this time.
Well, at any rate, he's having some connectivity issues. But Alex, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dave.
Story. I want to connect with you personally on some business stuff I'm doing.
Love it.
We'll talk about it down the road.
Okay.
But if anybody wants to reach out to Alex, there's his number right there. And you can reach him, give him a call or text. Is that a text? They can text you that?
Text or call. That's my cell phone number, my personal cell phone. I give it out to anybody who wants to call me. That's great. I want to give you a copy of my book, free. Yep. I'd like to meet with you, sign it, just get to know people in the area, more people in the area, and support what they're doing.
Beautiful. All right. Well, Alex, thank you for your time, and we'll be talking to you shortly.
Thank you so much. This was fun.
All righty. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.